A couple of points that I think may be an interest to some of the councillors who are experiencing this, and I know that Councillor Mihevik encountered it in a heritage conservation district in Witchwood Park, where there was a prohibition against disturbing the foundations of buildings and cutting into banks of the escarpment because of groundwater circumstances that were articulated in a heritage conservation district, not in a geological study or an environmental heritage study, but was embedded in a planning study because of the experience that homeowners in the area had when excavation started to happen around additions to houses and the way in which groundwater got rerouted and flooded different parts of the neighborhood. And in fact, the proposal for a couple of monster homes in a heritage district was defeated in large part because of the cut into mid-bank provisions that were put in place that were identified as architectural elements and design elements, but were actually around management of groundwater. I was recently approached by a faculty member from the University of Toronto's Architecture School in the Landscape Division. The person who approached me is the new chair of that department, who's recently arrived from Paris and is extraordinarily interested to know why the City of Toronto and the Toronto Regional Conservation Area park management and water management system is studied all over the world as a way of managing groundwater and runoff. It is the standard by which all European groundwater management courses in landscape architecture is taught, and yet there is not one piece of data in the city archives that relate to current policy on it. He was just stunned to find out that our planning department and our urban design department does not speak to these issues in any of its policy documents, and it's not found in the official plan. He was shocked. He couldn't believe it. He thought that the rest of the world is modeling their groundwater management systems on our work that was done in the 50s, but it's no longer being pursued with the same vim and vigor as it is right now. Additionally, another staff member who is from Los Angeles, but who's been working extensively in New Orleans as they try to manage their groundwater issues, which, as you can only imagine how severe those are and how stressed they are by chronic underfunding and chronic underfunding in the infrastructure programs. Her analogy was that in the West Coast, you do not build a building without being sensitive to the geological realities of the fault lines that create earthquakes. Earthquakes, she said, are completely unmanageable, yet the building code requirements around earthquakes are so stringent, are so profound, are so extraordinary that nobody argues about it. They just do it. And it's done, they retrofit buildings as a requirement. She said the same amount of natural power is contained inside floods, and yet we do nothing to accommodate the realities that are current, let alone anticipated in major storms. And we now know in this city that we've had 5 storms of the century in the last 5 years. And we have seen infrastructure literally blown out of the sky. Bridges, Finch Avenue, the incident that was spoken to by Paula Fletcher, with Councillor Fletcher, with a 40-foot slab of reinforced concrete blown 100 feet into the sky in the waterfront in a micro flash flood that effectively was in the west end of the city, while Scarborough was in sunshine. It was extraordinary. And so they are seeking to do a significant geological evaluation of the city's substructure, and with an eye to understanding how stormwater management and how groundwater management, which is currently not spoken to in any of our planning documents or any of the planning reports we receive, needs to be a fundamental part of how we move forward. They have run into a problem, though. They are seeking data from the city's mapping system, and no one at City Hall is prepared to surrender the data maps to these academics so they can do the work for us for free. And so we have a significant issue here that needs to be addressed. It's a blind spot. I think we're comfortable that the ravine system and the TRCA is a problem, but there is a significant issue here. And the University of Toronto is prepared to start doing some work on our behalf to map the geological underpinnings of the city as it relates to groundwater, but they also have some significant recommendations to our current laissez-faire approach to groundwater management and stormwater runoff. We don't manage surface water properly, and as a result we are compounding problems underground. And a lot of the times when these issues are raised, in particular in the beaches, it is dismissed.
All in favor.
It is dismissed as a war on the car, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. front yard parking is part of the parved surfaces of this city. It is the amount of paved surfaces that are having an impact on some of these issues. This is not an insignificant issue, and I realize how contentious front yard parking is, but there are implications, and if we don't bring forth a harmonized and balanced approach to this, which is as sophisticated as possible, we are going to be putting homeowners at risk. And if you want to put homeowners at risk, pretend it's not a problem.
Members of the public gallery, I've been lenient far. You're not actually supposed to cheer and boo and stuff. As entertaining as Councillor Vaughan can be. Next to speak.